Hey guys, John from ARTV here today to talk to you about the new Interpol record titled El Pintor, which when translated means the painter, which I thought was pretty cool because of the way the band kind of paints a portrait and kind of pushes that to the listener. This whole album and really this band has always been about getting into their groove. In recent years it feels like they kind of slipped out of that groove a little bit and kind of lost who they were, but they weren't putting out terrible records or anything like that. Their self-titled album in 2010 was probably the lowest of lows I had in my relationship with the band, but I think El Pintor kind of puts things back on track, and honestly, if it's not their best record since Antics in '04, then it's definitely their best since Turn on the Bright Lights, that really impressive debut record that they just kind of blew everyone away with. There were several New York bands that were just kind of breaking down doors and really opening people's eyes to music in the music industry, and I think that Interpol were one of those bands that were doing things right. They were definitely digging out rock grooves, pushing this kind of post-punk sound into their music, mixing it with new wave, a little bit of alternative, and making and really cultivating a sound that was nothing other than that of Interpol. On this new record, El Pintor, they have once again put the guitar at the forefront, and that is what I really like to hear from these guys. What happens whenever their lead guitarist, Daniel Kessler, really starts cutting out these grooves? I think that whenever they write a really solid guitar line, the rest of the song just kind of falls into place after that. Their lead singer, Paul Banks, is doing a really good job on kind of creating an atmosphere here on this record, something that has been somewhat absent from recent records, and I feel like on El Pintor they did a good job of meshing everything together perfectly. Paul Banks playing the bass for the first time in quite a long time. He's never, I don't think, in Interpol played the bass until this record, actually recording it on a record, I should say. Their longtime bassist Carlos departed in 2010 after the release of that self-titled record. And here we find them actually cutting out some really good bass grooves. It just kind of bumps and subtly adds a lot of texture to a lot of these tunes. I think the opening track and the lead single from this record is a perfect example of why this album works. All the Rage Back Home starts off with almost immediate vocals, kind of very dreary and distant, but that guitar is right there, right in your face, and that's the first thing that's really drawing your attention to this record. That continues throughout the next tracks here on this record. Everything about it just kind of keeps pacing itself in a really a perfect way, and something that isn't always the most interesting thing to listen to, and it does kind of feel stale at times, but really on the first few tracks on this record, it really just starts to hit home for me. All the Rage Back Home, like I already mentioned. My Desire really cuts out as a very lyrically talented track, and one that actually cuts like a knife guitar-wise. That riff gets stuck in my head like all of the time, I swear. That and the one from Same Town, New Story. That's another one that just really, I felt like, just is one that gets ingrained in the listener's head, and really in the best way possible. These tracks clock in at a total of 40 minutes, just under 40 minutes actually, and it's really just a nice, perfect length for Interpol on a record. I feel like if the album had stayed longer, then I might have started to tire of it, really, but if it had been a little bit shorter, I might have felt like, well, there just wasn't enough there to satisfy me, so 10 tracks really does cut it for me here on this one. Closing things out with a really, really good combination of the tracks Tidal Wave and Twice as Hard. Tidal Wave has some of the best instrumentation here on the record, and so does Twice as Hard, honestly, along with one of the most impressive vocal performances from Banks. I think on Twice as Hard, things really start to heat up and honestly fade out in the perfect way. It comes to kind of a perfect climax, and then things start to trend downward in a really kind of soft, let's send the album off at this point type way until the song fades to nothing, and I think that that's the best way that El Pintor could have ended. Everything Is Wrong is probably the low point of the record for me. Probably because the instrumentation just felt very weak on this one, along with its vocal and lyrical message here on this one. It's just not winning me over or anything like that, but it's followed immediately after that by one of my favorite tracks on this record, which is Breaker 1. Ancient Ways follows that track with a very heavy aura about it and one of the most melodic, yet still almost hard elements about the entire record. It's one of the best tracks here. Once again, I'm talking about some of my top favorites, and Ancient Ways is up there just because of the fact of what it does. Its bass line pummels here on this one. It adds so much to the background of this track and kind of boosts things up, along with Banks's vocal performance really on this one. It just felt like very energetic and an album that felt almost a little bit, you know, kind of out there and a little bit spacey. But this is one that just kind of mixed things up by daring to be different and being a good different on a record that kind of settled into a groove, and not necessarily in a bad way. It's just nice to see something giving a kind of a pick-me-up, an energy shot to the heart. If you're looking for a through-and-through solid guitar-driven record, then I think you will definitely enjoy this new Interpol record. Check it out. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. I will provide the link to stream the album for free if you would like. Just click down below, along with my Facebook, my Twitter, my vlog channel. Everything like that is in the description. As far as the rating goes, I give this album a 4 out of 5. So like I said, if you've heard El Pintor, let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. Thank you for hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel. Of course, you can feel free to leave suggestions for future reviews in the comment section down below. Click here to see my last review, or you can click here to go to my second channel where I do track reviews and things of that nature. Thanks for watching ARTV Beyond the Reviews.